Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Amateur Hour Sports for today's Raptors off-season stream here in the wake of, of course, we know, of the NBA draft lottery and how that went down in the unfortunate way for the team. However, we're out here today, and we're going to be talking about what the future of the Raptors may hold, even despite losing out on that lottery pick or that top 6 pick altogether. We're going to talk about the future of the team, the outlook for the team, where the team may finish next season, where the team may see themselves next season, and along the way, hopefully we're going to have some answers as to what we should be expecting for the team. And along the way as well, we're going to be looking a little bit at the upcoming NBA draft and a player in particular who Raptors fans have been somewhat interested with as far as the draft is concerned. That is Bronny James. We'll actually take a little bit of a look at Bronny James and if the Raptors should have aspirations to get him in the upcoming draft. But I hope everybody is doing well today. Going to be a 45 to 60-ish minute stream today. I got something to do at 6 o'clock, so got to get out of here by 6 o'clock, currently 5:04 Eastern time. But how is everybody's week going? How are y'all doing? Happy to be here for the Tuesday. No stream on Thursday this week. I'm away on Friday, so nothing on the weekend as well. I'm going to be away for the weekend in Montreal. Looking forward to that. But, yeah, been a solid week so far for myself. Earlier today, I was live on the Bleacher Report app. Happy to say. Did a stream covering what the Raptors should be targeting with their 19th overall selection. Tons of people at that one. Tons of people showed out. A lot of people engaged in the comments. And overall, I think the stream went very, very well. Never ran out of things to say. And I think I did well. So I would recommend going to check that out. If you go to the community tab on this channel, you can find my post regarding said stream. And you can go ahead and watch it. But maybe wait until this stream is done here today before going ahead and doing that. On the way, of course, with these off-season streams, I'll be answering all of your questions that you may have for myself. And we're just going to chat ball today. Nothing really, like sometimes I come through these like really real schedule of things I want to get through. Not the case today. Just going to hang out here, see where the vibe goes. And like I said, answer some questions along the way from you guys. But the big question for today's stream, big thing I want answered, what do you think this team looks like next season? How well do you think this team can do next season? What are the next steps? Where is this team going? Would love to hear any thoughts, any opinions regarding that. Let's hear what's up to the people in the chat here. Any soccer fans out here just watched the conclusion of the City-Tottenham game. Interesting game, for sure. Entertaining one to end off the work day. Finish some second monitor content while I finished off work. And nice little finish to the day. Sumaya in chat, nice and early, along with Doug B. 2 of the members. Thank you so much for joining if you are still here. Sean E.G. was in the chat earlier, as was Winner 1, who is here right now. Zach Craig joining today. Sher Khan, Sahaj Chala, Daniel Berry Sports, Highlights, Environmental Canadian. Really appreciate it. Environmental Canadian, number 5 to hit the like button. Well, let's pump those numbers up. If you guys are ready for this stream and enjoying, make sure you do hit the like button along the way. Any chance of getting Monk or Ingram? To put it pretty well, listen, in sports there's always a chance, but to put it simply, no, unfortunately. That was from Wiso. Welcome to the stream. ONG also here as well. Bob's my uncle, back in the chat. King Kex, is that what it says? Thank you for joining as well. Somebody said before I started the next steps for the Raptors are to be bottom 10 next season. I'm not convinced that should be the expectation of where the team will finish. I think this team really ought to be in the 8. I know this could still be bottom 10, but like the bottom 8 to 15. This team has the potential to be a play-in tournament team, and I think that should be the goal. I'll go further than say that should be the goal. I think it should be the expectation for this Raptors team to be a play-in tournament team at the minimum next season. This team is good enough to do that. This team is good enough to go in the Eastern Conference. This team is good enough to win 38 games, 39 games. That might be good enough to get into the play-in tournament. Not saying, they're going to win 44 games, be like maybe a top 6 seed, but this team should be aspiring and expecting to win at least 38 games next season. That should be what the team is planning. Now, could they bottom out again? Potentially. They could be fragile to injuries, but like I said, should be the expectation for this group to be fighting for a playoff position, and every game should be meaningful for this team. I don't want any game near the end of the season to be like, season's gone. I don't want that again. Do not want that again in any way whatsoever. So Hodge says, re-sign Trent and up his trade value and trade him at the deadline. Well, depends how much you have to sign Trent for. That's the whole discussion here. What would you guys sign him for? I don't really want to go above 20. That's how I've been feeling for a while right now. Winner one says, Bronny been cooking at the Combine. We're going to talk about Bronny a little bit later on. He is an interesting one for sure. Honestly, glad we lost pick this year. The Combine showing how the players at our pick have terrible measurables. Let's move up 4 or 5 spots, get the guy we want, in my view. For next season, well, we'll see. We'll see what that looks like. We'll see what our pick looks like for sure. We'll have a better outlook. But I certainly did want the pick this year. Guarantee ourselves a top 6 pick. But, didn't happen. Did not happen. If we don't sign IQ, we're screwed. You don't have to worry about Emmanuel Quickley. Emmanuel Quickley is a restricted free agent, so the Raptors can match any offer that comes his way. I would just live under the not even expectation. Just live as if that Emmanuel Quickley is a Raptor, because there's no way he's gonna leave. There's no way the Raptors let him go. Just live your life as if Emmanuel Quickley has complete security here in Toronto. That's how I'm treating it, and there's no reason to suggest I shouldn't be treating it in that way. Next steps are to trade Pirtle and or Bruce Brown to OKC or Grizzlies for their first-round pick. Use the draft to address two-way wing, Ron Holland or Buzelis. If available, wishful thinking. Well, if you're trading with the Grizzlies, well, I don't think the Grizzlies would trade that pick for Pirtle. But, maybe they would. Maybe they would, right? And then essentially we would have traded the 8th overall pick in 2 seconds to trade up to I think the Grizzlies had the 7th pick. Would have traded up to the Grizzlies have the 9th pick actually. Anyways, I'm not sure if Ron Holland or Buzelis would even be there, but I don't think trading Pirtle is going to be on the menu for this team, unfortunately. How many? I asked in a poll today in the chat, in the community tab, how many trades we think the Raptors will make in the offseason. I plan on doing a full video about this tomorrow, so I don't want to touch on it too greatly today, but the consensus is 2, but at least 1 trade. Not many people think we're going 3 or 4, but 47% think the Raptors make 2 trades in the offseason. I don't know if they make any trades. I don't know if they make any trades, by the way. I've seen Zach Edey's shooting in the Combine. He's been looking okay so far, so still don't want to take him at 19th, but we'll see if things change throughout the Combine. And he may not even be available at 19th anyway, so that decision may be taken out of our hands as well. Grizzlies seem to be shopping pick 9. We could definitely be involved in trade discussions. I guess they could use a center. Probably would want more of a floor spacing center. Easier said than done. Pirtle could be an option, I suppose. But then the Raptors have no center. So I don't think so. Then the Raptors have no center. Yeah. Probably would want to just hang on to Jakob Pirtle at this point with that contract situation. I know you're essentially, you're getting back into the draft for the pick you traded away for Pirtle, but you have to factor in those 2 second-round picks a little bit as well. I think valuation-wise, I'd be okay trading Pirtle for like the 9th overall pick to the Grizzlies, but then you have to think about what the center spot looks like. I guess you can draft a center, but is there an NBA-ready center you can draft at 19th overall? Because you're probably not drafting a center at 9th overall. If you are, who you taking? Klingon's projected around there? No thanks. Around 19, Khalil Ware probably won't be available. If he is, he probably isn't starting NBA center caliber. So I don't know. I personally, I've said it a lot, especially on these streams. For me, just Pirtle's a good player. Just keep Pirtle. He's a good player. Forget about the trade. It was a bad trade. It's not Pirtle's fault he was involved in the bad trade. He's a good player. And if the team wants to be better next season, he can be an important reason why they are better. Bob's like, let's say we are too good to tank. If we get injuries, tank. If not, play for a playoff position, then trade Pirtle and Brown at deadline for picks and try to move up next year with all the picks. Brown is a guy I'd be obviously trying to move. Wouldn't say be super aggressive in trying to trade him, but yeah, if you can find some value for Bruce Brown, that would be a good decision to go with. But again, he can help the team win games to start the season, so maybe closer towards the deadline is the best way to go. Move up this year from 19. I can't really see that happening. There just isn't enough talent in, like, you know, what are you doing? If you're moving up from 19, like, you're probably going to what? Like 14, 15 in the draft. The talent in that range just, like, isn't strong enough to warrant losing assets to move up, like, that spot. Like, is there somebody the Raptors are, like just are dying to get in that range? I guess, like, if they really are hell-bent on getting, like, Khalil Ware or something, or another point guard in that position, I could see it. But I don't know. I think there's going to be a player they're happy to take at 19. I don't see them trading up. I don't see them trading up. I really don't. I know they have the availability of moving assets, but I think just retaining as much, recouping and retaining their assets right now is the right way to kind of go with this team at the moment. Phoenix says, I'm done coping. I view us losing a pick like us getting a fresh new start after declaring bankruptcy. It's kind of what it is, Phoenix. I guess it's the fresh start. You know, you put yourself in a bad position, but now you work on rebuilding. Only trade Pirtle if we can sign Claxton. Even then, I'm like, Claxton's probably going to cost more than Pirtle. I'd probably just still want to keep Pirtle anyways. Like, what does Claxton bring that Pirtle can't bring? Like, maybe a bit more defense, but I mean, we're not saying that Pirtle's a bad defender, and Pirtle brings more, I think, offensively than Claxton brings. I'm just comfortable keeping Pirtle at this point. I don't have any reason to want the Raptors to trade Pirtle. Honestly, you do Scotty disservice by taking away his main screener. That too. I guess you make his job a little more difficult. Guess who becomes the main screener? I guess if Pirtle's not here, Scotty would become said screener. Which I wouldn't mind seeing Scotty Barnes as the screener in the pick and roll. Does anyone want Boucher? I don't know. I think we should trade Boucher. Yes. I don't know who wants him. It might have to be a salary dump from the Raptors to get rid of Chris Boucher. I guess that's where a trade could come in the offseason, but man, what a disaster that contract kind of turned out to be. I guess it's not crippling, the contract he's making. I think it's like 11. I'm just double checking. I think it's $11 million this year. Okay, 10.8 this year. It's not crippling, and it's tradable. I wouldn't force the trade because that might be like a good salary matching contract somewhere down the line. So maybe for now, like, see what's out there, but I'm not sure anybody really wants Chris Boucher. You know what I mean? If you have Pirtle, he can play well, and each year's contract is more tradable. He can get a better pick or prospect the longer we keep him. That also is an important factor to consider. I don't see a lot of gain in trading Pirtle, for sure. Do you regret us trading away Schroeder? Not at all. Not really in the slightest. I don't miss him. The Raptors have gained the extra flexibility this summer. Hoping they can draft a point guard. I haven't really thought about that trade in quite some time, to be honest. Nope, not bothered at all by the Dennis Schroeder trade. I love Yak, but I don't know if I see him as a long-term center solution for this core. Well, long-term, it depends what your idea for long-term is. Like, for 3 years. For 3 years is kind of long-term. I think he's a good fit with these guys, to be honest. I mean, it'd be better to have a floor spacing center, but every team in the NBA could say that who doesn't have one. They're hard to get. Pirtle's great. He's a good passer, good screener, good passer at the high post, good rim protector, not expensive. Like, there's a lot of great stuff that he brings to the team. And if there's an issue with him down the line, seriously fit-wise, that contract's very tradable. And as Bob Vanko said, that contract becomes more tradable year after year. So I don't see any reason to force a move. Like, I can see the appeal of trying to go in a different direction at center, but there's no reason to force it. I'm going to look at StatMuse, our record without Pirtle, something like 2-17. Raptors record without Pirtle this season. Look, in this was that, what was it, a 15-game losing streak? But the Raptors lost a lot of games when Jakob Poeltl didn't play. There was a 5-game losing streak, a 4-game losing streak here, even when they had a lot of players available. 4-28 without Poeltl. It just kind of showcases what he brings to the team. Rebounding-wise, defensively, he's a bit of an important player here. Growth from the core four. I agree. Just continue to see improvements going forward. That's absolutely what I'd like to see from this season. If we don't make the playoffs, I'll be disappointed, but it won't be like, make or break. It's not playoffs or bust for this team, but like I said, I would want the expectation for this team to be making the playoffs this season. Schroeder was like, well, I wouldn't call Schroeder a locker room cancer. I wouldn't go that far at all. It's just, he seemed fine here. Schroeder was fine. It's just wasn't a fantastic fit, and the Raptors wasn't part of the long-term plan. That's really it. I don't think we need to go any further on that, to be honest. Didn't seem like there was any issues personnel-wise with Schroeder, at least to me. The Koloko stuff is going to set us back a year. I really thought he could develop into a bona fide starting caliber center. Well, maybe he could have. Look, he had the health issues. There's nothing the Raptors could have done about that. It's unfortunate looking back on that draft class. Top of my head, 34th overall pick was Jalen Williams. Would have been a nice player to have, particularly this season. But, there was nothing the Raptors really could have done about it. He seemed like a nice piece. He seemed like a player the Raptors wanted to work with going forward. And in the end, health took over. Jalen Williams would be a nice player to have. Max Christie at 35th overall would be good to have. Jaden Hardy at 37th overall would have been nice to have. Even Bryce McGowan, I guess, to a degree. I didn't really love him. Would have been interesting. I think further down, Peyton Watson probably further down here. Did Peyton Watson go first round? Yeah, we went 30th overall. 30th overall, Peyton Watson, Andrew Nembhard right before us. Yeah, Jalen Williams was probably the one. He was actually higher on my wish list than Christian Koloko at the time of the draft. That would have been an interesting one if the Raptors. It would have been interesting if the Raptors didn't have Koloko available. They would have taken Williams. But it's unfortunate. Yeah, you could have added in talent there, and in the end, you get nothing out of that pick. Not the Raptors' fault, but just a shitty situation overall. Excuse me. Collier was the number one guy or number two guy in his recruitment. Had injuries last year. Played awesome after returning from injury. Move up from if we can. I would think there's a chance you don't even have to move up and you can get Collier. I actually spoke about him a lot on my stream earlier today on the Bleacher Report app. I think Collier's got a chance to move down in the draft. His draft stock will largely hinge on probably how his shot looks in workouts and in the combine. If he's knocking down threes, if his form looks good, yeah, that's probably a late lottery. If it's not looking good, might slip to 19th. I don't know. Two players I'm looking at 19. One I'm really looking at. I'm going to do a full video on him probably on Friday. Devin Carter, really interesting player at 19th overall for me. And to maybe a bit of a lesser degree, but could be a good shout, Carlton Carrington at 19th overall, both of which are guards. If you're going big, Khalil Ware, if he's available at 19, that is another really interesting one for me to have a look at 19th overall. I think you guys should look at him as well. Don't know if Yak signed up for a rebuild, though. That's kind of where we're at. Yak said that he doesn't care about the rebuild as long as the team is trying to win. And obviously they weren't trying to do that at the end of this season. He was injured anyways. He said he's on board for a team that's trying to win games. So he said that in a press conference. So the Raptors come into this season trying to win, trying to be successful, and my expectation is they will try to do that. Then Poeltl seems like he's happy to be here. If he's not, that's a tradable contract. It's tradable. They can work something out there. And that's a player that if a team needs a big, they'd probably be happy to take on there. Poeltl plus 19 and 31 to move into top 10. It's just not really worth it. I'd rather have Poeltl and 2 shots at this draft rather than move into the top 10. Because again, there's nobody there that I'm like hell-bent on thinking this would be such a massive pull to get this player. Like Buzelis would be nice in that range. Ron Holland would be nice in that range. But I'm not like hell-bent on bringing these guys into the team. It'd been nice to have that top 6 pick, but it is what it is. We lost it. I'm not like going to be super aggressive in my opinion. I don't think they should be super aggressive in trying to get back into those spots. You know what I mean? He does everything you want except hit threes and hit free throws. Exactly. It's tough to find a guy with the full package, but he brings a lot defensively and still brings quite a lot offensively. And I always say you can space the floor without hitting threes. You can set screens. You can pass out of the high post. That's what he does. Absolutely, that's what he does. It'd be nice to bring in some more, like a backup. That's what I want to look for at pick 31. But Pirtle's a great player, and we saw how significant he is to this team when he wasn't playing this season for sure. Schroeder wishing for another team to win a championship was kind of crazy. I agree that was kind of crazy, but I don't think that there was animosity between him and the players. Didn't seem like that. But that did pinch a nerve with myself. What about Valanciunas compared to Pirtle? Too old, too bad at basketball. JV can't hang. Year after year, Pelicans get in big games. JV can't hang, period. He just cannot play defense. That's it. I think the so-called floor spacing JV has is overrated. He can hit a 3 here and there, sure, but like nobody's really guarding him on the outside. And defensively, he's a nightmare. He can't play defense. He can't hang in big games. So Pirtle's the superior player to JV in my eyes, for sure. The idea of JV is stronger than the actual player being here. I mean, I even saw JV in playoff games in Toronto. He would fold a bit offensively, and defensively, again, he just cannot hang in those big-time settings, unfortunately. I'd rather have Pirtle. I'd absolutely rather have Pirtle. And I think the Pelicans would as well. I'm not going to lie. Bring in that rim protection that they've missed, because in big playoff games, they have to go with Larry Nance every year in those spots. Heard Houston wants to trade their pick. Wouldn't surprise me going in that direction. I think of Houston, like, look, I've already got a head start on this young core here. Let's inject a little bit more youth into it. Don't rush this thing. You've got good players here. Keep bringing in cheap young players, and you bring in a 3rd overall pick. You're bringing in talent as well. Like, if I'm Houston, I'm looking at shooting. Like, I'm probably looking at Reed Shepherd here. I'm looking at Rob Dillingham here. Absolutely. Maybe even to go in a forward direction. Yeah. If I'm Houston, just get off lucky with a pick there. I want to use it. I absolutely want to use it. 2 outcomes: we suck and we get our pick this year, or we win a Scotty LeBron floor raising season. So, okay, yeah, I've kind of floated around with the chat here. What is it? What is it going to look like next season? Well, actually, Boswell said I watched Carrington highlights today as well and like him. YouTuber said his shot in the comment was slow and it was different than in season. Okay, that's interesting. But I like him. I think that what's good about Carrington is that I like him, and I am confident he will be there as of right now at 19th overall. Whereas other guys like Collier probably won't be there at 19th. And the guy I really want, Devin Carter, might be there at 19, might just lose out to him in the late teens of the draft, just before we're selecting. But Carrington, I would be confident, is on the board at 19th overall for the Raptors. Do I think Zach will be available at 19? I don't, and I kind of hope he isn't as well, because I don't want the Raptors to be tempted there. I think they should go in a different direction there. Outside the top 5, the draft is wide open. Top 5 is kind of wide open too. I mean, Klingon is all of a sudden in the top 5 in some mocks. Reed Shepherd is in and out of the top 5, as is Rob Dillingham. It kind of feels like Alex Sarr and Reese Ashe are 2 guys that are kind of locked into the top 2 or 3. But other than that, it's very wide open elsewhere. Like, Buzelis could sneak into the top 5 for sure. I mean, if a team loves Ron Holland, he could move into the top 5. There are a lot of ways that this one can go. What free agents do you want to see come to Toronto for a play-in push? Well, realistic one, like somewhat realistic ones: DeAnthony Melton, Monte Morris, Gary Harris. Those are the 3 I've outlined in a video previously. Actually, Chris Dunn would be an interesting pickup for the Raptors if to be a backup point guard as well. Would inject a lot of defense into the team. Had a bit of a renaissance, if you will, with the Utah Jazz this season. Not a bad player to try out there, but with all due respect, I maybe lack there. With little respect, I think that you need a really good coach to get NBA caliber minutes out of Dunn, which the Utah Jazz have, and I'm not sure we would do it. That's a tough one. Improve the bench of the picks, and we can do that, and we can hopefully do that in free agency as well. So my outlook for the team right now, I want to be high on the core. I think they will struggle to make the playoffs, unfortunately. Scottie Barnes, I think he could have another outstanding season. Hopefully it's a healthy season as well. RJ Barrett can make a continued push. Don't think he'll be able to replicate what he did with the Raptors this season, because that was just so otherworldly good. I'm lost for words on how to describe how well RJ Barrett played with the Raptors. It'll be so hard to follow that up. Emmanuel quickly can continue to grow, but there still will be questions about the depth of this team and the defense of this team, because the defense was so bad last year. I think they'll struggle to bring in the big wing defender that they really need, and they'll lose a lot of ugly games. I think they'll have some fun wins. I think they'll still lose a lot of ugly games, and I think this team is destined to finish around 35 to 38 wins. Their goal should be to make the play-in tournament, and I think that should be the aspiration and expectation for this team. But I think that we should expect a late lottery pick for the Raptors next season as the most likely outcome on the season. I don't really see... I think there's too many good players on this team to tank at all. I think you should try to maintain a competitiveness throughout the year, kind of like what the Utah Jazz did this season, where, you're trying to win games. Houston as well, you're trying to win games. And work on developing your team. Continue to try and get Scottie Barnes, RJ Barrett, and Emmanuel quickly to the next level. Don't want another wasted sort of season here. Let's really try to progress these players and get them working with each other to take these next steps. And hopefully whatever picks come through, we can inject that into the team and take those next steps. I think that's something the Raptors are capable of doing at this present point in being moderately competitive. I think they're good enough to do that. I haven't looked enough into players around the 31st overall pick, so I don't have a strong opinion on any player in that range yet. My focus, I'm going to say, I selfishly I looked pre-draft lottery. I spent most of my time looking at players who could land at the Raptors in the top 6 positions. Selfishly, I say, because I did a lot of content around that, and I knew that if the Raptors lost their pick, I could still cover guys who could go 19th or 31st after the draft lottery, whereas if I covered Buzelis, Ron Holland, Reed Shepherd before the draft lottery, no matter what, I could cover them there, but I may not be able to cover them now. So maybe those videos are a bit wasted now, but perhaps a little bit interesting pre-lottery, which they wouldn't have been afterwards. So basically, I've left myself with more options to create videos regarding the draft at this point, rather than if I had covered players like that before lottery, if that makes sense. So again, that was selfish on my part, but hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from in that perspective. Zach Edey, 16 of 25 from 3 is very impressive for his height. Raptors could turn him into a lethal shooter. I'm not convinced he'll be a shooter in the NBA. I don't want to stomp on anybody's opinion here, but I just don't see it. I really struggle to come to terms on expecting Zach Edey to be a good selection, 19th overall. I don't know. I just cannot see it. And I think if it wasn't for ESPN putting him in the lottery, nobody else would have him that high in their mock drafts. That's it. And let's get to the Bronny James portion here, because here's a player I thought had no hope of getting selected in the 2024 draft. Here's a player I thought was kind of stupid almost for declaring for this upcoming NBA draft. Here's a player that I thought should avoid the NBA draft because he's going to go undrafted, and that when he declared for the draft, I said, well, he's going to undeclare when no team wants him. And here we are today. Bronny James is going to stay in the NBA draft. So, with everything around the player, could he become an option for the Toronto Raptors? That's what we are going to answer here. So first things first, Bronny James. I think the most important thing here is that he's been medically cleared to play in the NBA. That's great news because he had the health concerns 9 months ago. I say health concerns. He had a heart attack. He went into cardiac arrest. I don't know if those are equal, but yeah, humongous injury scare less than a year ago, and now he's going to be entering the NBA. He's been involved heavily in the draft combine up front, and according to videos, according to reports, he has looked pretty damn good in the draft combine so far as well. So could he be an option at any point for the Toronto Raptors? I think the ceiling for Bronny is very late first round. The floor for Bronny, and honestly, I'm still low on the player, what I would expect him to be. His floor is absolutely an undrafted free agent. But with all of the pieces that we're going to discuss here around Bronny James, could the Raptors even consider him at 31st overall in the draft? Well, for starters, he started to make some headlines after his measurements at the draft combine. There were some conversations around his height. He's 6'4", great size for the point guard position. He's not 6'4". He's 6'1.5" without shoes. So we'll call him 6'2". If you want to stretch, maybe you can call him 6'3". But he's 6'1.5" without shoes. What is interesting is his wingspan. He's got a 6'7" wingspan. That's pretty interesting for the point guard position. That's some good length and allows him to play a little bit above his size for that role as a point guard, because Bronny definitely comes into this one as a more defensively driven player. That's his sort of claim to, well, that's not his claim to fame. His claim to fame is his last name and his father. But his claim to fame as a player is more so on the defensive end. And it's probably good that it's on the defensive end, because offensively, this is not a player you would even consider to get drafted. So here he's listed at 6'3". We'll see if that is adjusted here on Tankathon. But here's a guy who came off the bench all year, averaged less than 5 points per game on 36% shooting from the field. I don't know if you hear those sirens outside. Shot 36% from the field this season, has an effective field percentage of 43.8. I mean, that is disgustingly bad. It's got the 3 levels of weakness here on Tankathon. I think it should be 4. 43.8 is bad. A true shooting percentage of 47.2, just not good. Low volume of threes, 2.4 a game, and did not shoot them well, 2.67% from 3. This has all the makings of a player who absolutely should not even be considered to be drafted in the upcoming draft class. And I just think it's so ludicrous that he's even considered here. Now, granted, any pushback on Bronny, if you have it, for his talent, you could say it was a bad situation in USC, and granted, you could argue that. Didn't have a great situation to play in with USC. Understandable. Maybe not the best fit for himself. Maybe the same can be said about another USC player, Isaiah Collier. But, okay, maybe not the greatest situation. Also, the health factor. Look, he came back from major injury, we'll call it. He needs more time to adjust. Okay, sure, if that's the case, transfer, enter the transfer portal, which he did, play another year, improve your value, but he sees a weaker draft class and the aura about being named Bronny James and thinking that's the way he's going to be getting drafted. He did maintain his college eligibility, but reports are suggesting he is just going to stay in the NBA draft, and therefore he is going to relinquish his eligibility there. And I don't know if the expectation was he was just going to stay in college, but no major mock draft or no major media source who produces mock drafts have added Bronny James to their mock draft. ESPN does not have Bronny James in their mock draft. Bleacher Report does not have Bronny James in their mock draft. I haven't really seen anywhere, and I've been sifting through a bunch of them, I haven't seen anywhere where Bronny James is listed as a potential pick here. So I don't really know what the expectation is. I don't know what sort of information's been given to the James family to suggest that Bronny James is going to get drafted, but I just cannot really see. I just cannot really see why a team would want to select him for the ability here. Is he a project player? Like, he's undersized for his position. He's got the length, but not really the height to play the position very well in the NBA. So if he is a defensive threat, like, sure, maybe he could do it because of the length, but there's question marks even there. And offensively, like, what is he really going to be able to bring anything to your team? I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I just don't have the evidence to suggest that this ability is going to translate to the NBA. The only way he gets drafted, there's two reasons he gets drafted here. Okay? First of all, it's one that we know. Absolutely, it's one that we know. It's the Lakers drafting Bronny James to satisfy LeBron and to convince LeBron to stay with the team longer. The Lakers in the bus era, if you will, have been known to give great treatment to their superstars. They want to take care of their superstars. They'll pay them. They'll continue to pay them as they're aging, even if their ability starts to decline. They want to take care of their superstars. They want to be that destination for superstars. And they want to satisfy LeBron James, who obviously brought a championship to the team as well, and draft his son, fulfill LeBron's dream to play with his son in the NBA. That is one of the reasons why Bronny James could be drafted into the NBA. But an interesting angle that I had not considered before seeing it here on Twitter, an interesting angle to be considered coming from Woj himself, is that some teams may be interested in drafting Bronny James because of the financial impact it could have, not on their NBA team, but their G League team. At the beginning of his career, he's going to pack G League arenas. There's going to be some amazing merchandise sales for those G League teams, and it's going to be an attractive player to watch in there. And that could convince a team that is in the late stage of the first round. These are the good teams who may want to bolster their G League team a little bit. This could be a reason to go with Bronny James in what we've seen as a lesser draft here, not as talented of a draft as we've seen in years past or will see in years future. So instead of trying to take a shot at talent, guarantee yourself guarantee yourself a financial impact for your G League team. Well, I can see that making a certain amount of sense, but the fact that the two main reasons I see Bronny James getting drafted being his father and being G League financial impact, it showcases that the ability as a basketball player clearly is not there. So I don't see any reason for the Raptors to want to draft this guy. The Raptors 905 is development pipeline to bring players into the NBA. It's not a circus. It's not just there for financial impact, and I don't want to turn it into that. I think the Raptors should almost keep their dignity here. Draft the players that you want to work with and develop, not just because of his name and not just because of the fame and popularity around the player. And I think it would be pretty far against the Raptors' typical MO to go with a player like this. So for me, I don't really want them to go with Bronny at 31st. It wouldn't shock me necessarily, but I'm probably going to still maintain that I lean towards Bronny James going undrafted. However, I can, with something like this, with the potential of LeBron signing for your team, perhaps a team in the late stage of the second round figures, what the hell, and just brings him into the team. But for the Raptors at 31st, that's too early for me to say, what the hell. Bring him in, bolster the 905. Maybe that attracts LeBron to sign for the team. I'm not so sure. Late second round, I can see it. Perhaps that's the opportunity in the middle stage of the second round for the Lakers to make that stab. We shall see. But it's not for me. Not for me at all. Is he for you? What do you guys think? What is your infatuation with Bronny James? I guess it is kind of smart, go for a draft where you actually might get drafted, whereas like next year in a good draft, you might not get drafted, where you have a chance this season, What do you guys think? Didn't Jimmy Butler have terrible stats in college? Was absolute dog in the NBA. Look, we can obviously find pick some cherries here and find specific examples where yeah, a guy didn't play very well in college and played well in the NBA. Absolutely. On a year-to-year basis, there's guys who are better for the NBA than they are for college. But you can't just assume that's going to be the case, right? And Jimmy Butler's also not 6'1" without shoes. Somebody else is. I don't see it. I just do not see it. But could be just get drafted because of his name and how weak the draft class is. You're right. Be interesting to see if there was some sports betting odds on if Bronny James will get drafted. That's what I would like to see. Because right now, the only odds associated with Bronny James are which team will draft him, which would be a bet that would void if he does go undrafted because no team drafted him, I suppose. But it'd be interesting to see if somebody, a sportsbook out there, would run the risk, I guess, of putting up. I mean, you can adjust to the lines, but it would be interesting if somebody had something up. Will Bronny James get drafted? So interesting, actually. Right now, DraftKings has a prop on Bronny James over under draft position. Over 39.5 is juiced to -180. Under 39.5 +130. So yeah, the expectation is he's going to fall latter stage of the second round to potentially being undrafted altogether. That is interesting. So there still isn't that expectation. Look, there's a lot of time. Things can change the next month and a half. The expectation right now is that he is not going to be in the first round, or we're very much close to it. And the expectation is if he's drafted, it will be in the latter stages of the second round. Let me see if Bet365 has something up. Team to draft player, Bronny James. Yeah, there's no prop for no team there. Everyone picking the draft, -180 for Alex Sarr. I feel like it's a good bet. I might look for some Alex Sarr props tomorrow. Let's check our sportsbook partner, the Bet99 Sportsbook. Let's see if they have any draft props up, because if they do, it would be an interesting one to consider as well. What's the worst that could happen? Another Caboclo 2.0. Well, Caboclo was a special case because there was nothing about Caboclo other than his size that would warrant even a slightest amount of consideration to draft him. Like, the Raptors probably could have just got him like late second round if they really wanted him. That was a bit of a disaster, but hey, we won a championship in that in the post-Coloco era, so it wasn't all bad, right? All right, let's see. Oh yeah, we got which team will draft Bronny James up on Bet365. Sorry, Bet99 as well, our sportsbook partner. Nothing that involves Bronny James not getting drafted. So it's a question of who will draft him. I guess Toronto Raptors probably isn't a horrible shout at egregious odds if they just feel like, hey, let's just do something crazy here. Who knows? Who knows? All right, get your final questions in here. About to wrap things up on the stream for today. We'll have a video coming out tomorrow talking about the potential for the Raptors to pull the trigger on a big trade in the offseason, actually. So stay tuned for that. Friday, if I can get it out, because I'm going to be away on Friday, and all weekend I will be away. Friday, I'm hoping to get out a Devin Carter draft profile video, because I love Devin Carter and would love if the Raptors could take him at 19th overall. I would take him. I'd take a point guard at 19 overall and go for a big at 31st if we could, if there's one that's talented available. Only big I'd really consider at 19th would be Khalil Ware. Not sold on Filipowski. Klingon apparently going top 5, so I'll pass. If somebody wants him fucking top 5, go ahead. But yeah, for me, I like Devin Carter a lot. I like Carlton Carrington a lot. I don't love Isaiah Collier, to be honest, but he could be available at 19th overall. What do I think about, again, 31st overall pick, I just don't really have a strong opinion on, so I can't really share any of my thoughts there. I've mostly looked at top 6 picks. I've looked a little bit at 19th overall picks. I have not really spent any time looking into players that could end up in the 31st overall spot. So no strong opinion as of yet in on that front. So, yeah, you'll have to ask me, I guess, a little bit later on. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but Yves Missy, the Cameroonian center. Decent option, I suppose, at 19th overall. I like Khalil Ware a little bit better. Would I like Filipowski even a little bit more? Probably not, but he's a decent option to go with at 9th overall as well. But again, I want to address the point guard at 19th overall. I want a point guard at 19th. I'm not even as concerned about talent there as I usually am. I want a point guard. Sort out point guard, draft one at 19th overall. Would I be mad if the Raptors took Bronny at 31? Probably. I suppose, you're not really missing out on a likely home run in the 31st pick, so why not? But I would probably be a little bit upset if Bronny went 31st to the Raptors. Yeah. I just don't see the potential. Can Bruce Brown be traded at the draft without his option being picked up yet? No. Surely not. I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I guess yes, but if a team is trading for him, they're trading to take the team. I mean, I guess they could trade for him just to dump the salary. That's a good question. I don't know how that would work. Let's put it into a let's put it into mock trade here. See if we're even allowed to do that. Let me just humor myself. Could the Raptors do this? Apparently you can't even trade him. Oh, do I have to add a second team first? Who's got a contract they could dump for this? I don't know. Not Gordon Hayward. Let's see. All right, just for fun, we'll put Lou Dort and Casey Wallace. Sure, just to see if it would go through. Let's see. Okay, I don't know how it works. Bruce Brown currently has a team option for the Raptors this season. The Raptors may decide to decline their option, which would make him an unrestricted free agent. They may accept or decline this option. By default, it will be accepted. He may also update his contract to perform actions such as sign and trade. I don't know. I think if they wanted to trade him, they could trade him before and not pick up his option. But I don't know 100%. That is a good question. Do I like McBain at 19? A little bit, yeah. But Devin Carter, my guy right now. All right, guys, that will do it for today's stream. Thank you for the viewership today. I appreciate it. A little bit more than we've gotten on some of the previous streams. Not that I'm knocking the people who were there before. I like streaming. I like streaming no matter what. And if it's a little bit more intimate, I can answer all the questions. So sometimes even better on that front. Guys, earlier today, I was live on the Bleacher Report app. Check out my stream over there. I'll put the link in chat right now for you to watch. But I was live on the Bleacher Report app for half an hour today, starting at 11 o'clock. And, yeah, I think the stream went very well. I think that's one of my best I've done for BR. Yeah, just went well. Covered a lot of great stuff. Answered some questions. A lot of people showed out. So if you've not checked it already, go to my stream in the Bleacher Report app and see my thoughts on Devin Carter and on Isaiah Collier and a little bit on Zach Edey as well. The big talking point in the chat was Zach Edey. So that was interesting. But I've got to go. Video tomorrow, possible trade, big trade the Raptors could make in the offseason. Thursday, no stream. I will be live on YouTube on the Board YouTube channel at the Board HQ, my works channel, for a Nuggets versus Timberwolves watch along. So I will be streaming Thursday night, just not on Amateur Sports. We'll be on at the Board HQ, youtube.com/at the Board, BOARD HQ. Easy. Check out that channel on Thursday, and I do content with that channel all the time, so you can get some more content for myself over there. As for the Friday video here, Devin Carter draft profile. Very excited to share my thoughts on him with you guys. But I hope you all have a great week, middle portion of your week. Hope to catch you on the next one.